What is up, guys? Kyle Smith, Arizona drummer here, and welcome back to Behind the Kit. Today, Season 2, Episode 3, and we are joined by none other than Mr. Ben Anderson. Ben absolutely rips on the drums. He's another Arizona boy just like me, but again, he is out there touring the world and crushing the stage with nothing more. In this conversation, we talk about Ben's history here in the state of Arizona, as well as his experiences becoming a member of Nothing More, touring with the band, recording with the band, and so much more. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so I'm going to shut up, stop talking, and we're going to jump right in. Let's get into it! Perfect. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the channel. This is another episode of Behind the Kit, and I am so excited to be joined by Mr. Ben Anderson. Ben, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Now, I have to share with the audience, the first time I ever got to see you play was actually just recently at the Daughtry and Disturbed Nothing More show here in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix Arena.
Nice.
And I gotta be honest with you, dude. I went into it not really knowing Nothing More. You know, I auditioned for Daughtry when they were kind of opening up their auditions, and then I'm good friends with David Nestor, who's the drum tech for Disturbed. So I was invited by them to come to the show, but you guys blew me away. My wife was there with me, and she was like, "Holy shit, that's probably the best band of the night," because you guys were just energy like through the friggin' roof, like so much fun to watch.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, that was a special one for me too, because that was I'm from Phoenix, and I've played. Having been in a bunch of bands there. I've played, I think, just about every venue that I can think of in the Phoenix area, and a lot of those places aren't even around anymore. But I've never played that particular arena. I've played the Glendale Arena. I've played Mesa Amphitheater. I played Cricket Pavilion. I'd never played that one, but that place was that was the very first show I had ever went to, period, was that venue. Like back then it was America West Arena. Now it's I don't even know what it is. It's like
It's just the Phoenix Arena now. They just made it super simple.
Oh, that's good. It's not like the Ozempic Arena or something. Okay. That's good. Yeah. So, I don't know. Like it was one of those few times, or not, you kind of have like a full circle moment with certain things occasionally, and that show of that whole tour was one of those for me. It was just like, oh man, this is very cool. And also just kind of noticing, the different perspective that you can have on something, coming back around to it that much later in life than when you're a kid. It's an interesting thing to kind of stew on. But anyway, yeah, that show was a lot of fun. And that crowd in particular, man, I remember afterwards, everyone was like, that was probably like for sure the best show of this whole tour, at least on that run for us. Like it was just very loud and like it was very good reception. So it's kind of, when that happens in general, there's a bit of a feedback element where, you know, they get stoked, so we get stoked, so they get more stoked, so we get more, you know, it just kind of helps fuel everything.
The literal feedback loop of just energy going back and forth, and it's funny. So we're both Phoenix boys. I wasn't born here, but I've been here for almost 30 years. So, you know, I call myself a native Arizonan, but I can see Phoenix Arena from my house. So it's one of those things where every time I leave for work, I'm like, that. You know, as a manifestation, like I will play at that venue. Similar to you, I've played just about everywhere else here, but not Phoenix Arena. I'm like, that has to happen. And a bucket list item for myself, at least this year, like, you know, we always set goals for ourselves, but I just want to step foot on the stage. That's it. If I can just step foot on the stage, we're good. And so I got to do that at that show with David and check out the drums and hang out with all you guys. So it was an awesome experience. So I didn't get to play, but I can kind of identify with you as far as just, oh my gosh, like what a great homecoming, what an awesome experience. Kind of check that off the list. And I think my camera paused for a second. But you guys, I mean, absolutely killed the show. So, but you did mention getting started in Phoenix. You've been with a lot of bands out here. You've played kind of all the different venues that we have. I do want to go all the way back to the very beginning and just ask you, what got you started on drums? Like, how did you kind of first pick up the instrument?
Well, the first instrument I got into was piano, technically speaking, when I was like a really, really young kid, like God, I don't know, 5, 6, something years old. That was from watching my mom play, and she was very, very good. And she would kind of like, wouldn't really teach me how to read music, but taught me a couple things just by memory. And I was just obsessed with playing. I can still play some of those things still, which is fun. But at a certain point, kind of wanted to get more into like an actual instrument. I ended up getting into saxophone, took lessons from that. Did, back when schools actually had music programs, or at least like elementary, middle schools. Did all that, did like the jazz bands. And like anything else that I've kind of always done, I could care less about 99% of things, but the one thing that I had like my focus on, I just was obsessed with. And it was always kind of something music related. So I would tend to get pretty good at those things. And I was that with saxophone for a while. And then it wasn't until, I think it was like going into 7th grade, a buddy of mine he's since passed, but he was one of my like longest standing friends up in, for a while. I didn't know that he played an instrument or anything, and we're at some kind of school function, and it sounds to me like from a distance, it's like, oh, I can hear music playing, but it sounds like a band, but I'd never seen a band or nothing, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go check it out. And I kind of like sort my way through the little group of people that are around there, and I see it was an actual band playing, but my buddy was playing drums, who I had no idea played drums, period, and he just looked like he was like having a blast. And he was like smiling, having so much fun, and everyone around him was just like, "Oh, this is like cool." And the thought immediately went into my brain. It's like, one, I've never had this much fun playing saxophone. Two, no one around me has ever looked like they're having that much fun while I'm playing saxophone. So it was just very, I want to do that. That just seems way more fun, And went and begged my parents if I could switch to that, and they said okay, as long as like I had tried, I think like guitar and violin and probably something else at that point too. Just like I just wanted to try anything musically. They agreed as long as I took lessons and just like really took it seriously, and basically just like practice on a practice pad for like a year before they committed to just getting me a drum set and all of the noise and everything that would entail. So I practiced a lot. I remember trying to get like double strokes down, which was the biggest pain. And eventually got a drum set, and then pretty much as soon as I got a drum set, I started immediately. I would just pull people from the school bands that I was in, or just people that I knew. Like I would just start forming bands, so to speak. So like if someone I knew had a guitar, a distortion pedal, then we were like in a metal band, and then I'd have like, okay, there's this guy who plays trumpet, and this other bass player, we're gonna have like a ska band. There's this other guy who plays guitar, but he doesn't like metal, so we're gonna have like a little punk band or something. Like I would basically try to have like someone different come over every single day to my house. I had a basement at the time, and we would just play whatever the hell we could, and would do that for a very long time. Eventually, that kind of turned into a couple actual bands that started to play shows and this and that here and there. And then that kind of, as things go, like kind of eliminates the bullshit more or less, and you start getting more focused into more serious things. And then I actually got sort of, I wouldn't know if noticed is the right word, but I kind of was brought to the attention of a friend of mine's older brother who was in like a much more established local band, and they were looking for a drummer, but they were all older. I was like 17 at this point, and they were all like 22, 23. So bit of a world disconnect at those ages. I was still like finishing high school, and they're partying a lot. But some, like, pretty much all those guys are still some of my really good friends to this day. But yeah, eventually was a band with them, and that led me to another band that was like my first touring band. yeah, just I don't know. It's pretty much everything just kind of went from that beginning thing, and just kind of went from one thing to the next, and of someone else hitting me up like, "Oh, hey, I saw you with that, or heard you with that. We're looking for a guy. Want you to do that." And that's even still like how I ended up with nothing more. Close to 10 years ago now, was um, through like the friend network of all of that. So yeah,
Yeah, I can definitely identify. Similar experience. I started playing drums when I was 8. Just my family's been musical, but my mom was like, "Hey, you clearly," because I was just tapping on stuff all the time and kind of headbanging and stuff. She's like, "You clearly have a knack for it." So picked up the sticks, did kind of the same thing, learned lessons, got the first drum set, started doing the bands, did all that stuff. I mean, got started to tour and then got the call, "Hey, we're having a baby." So paused for about
damn.
10 years and then came back like 5 years ago. So it's been and at that time, same thing. My very first concert I ever did, I think I was 12-year old, and everybody else was, 20 or 30 years old. So it was very similar experience. Where you're like, what the? I guess I'm just here to play drums and go. It's like,
Oh yeah, man. The first show I played with that band in particular, I had to wait outside of the venue for like 3 hours because it was an over 21 venue. It sucked, dude.
yeah. It reminds me of like, I don't know if this will ring a bell for you, but like the Clubhouse and
The clubhouse is great.
Yeah.
I used to love playing there. That
Right.
actually was like, I mean, it wasn't a nice venue, but for the size that it was probably one of the best mid-size venues. That was a real shame when that closed down.
and it sounded great. Like, I remember, gosh, I'm really dating myself now. This is like 2008, maybe 7. Open up to like Whitechapel and Bring Me the Horizon and Between the Buried and Me, all in the Clubhouse. There's like 300 kids, maybe at the most.
Oh yeah, I
Just
think it was
like,
like 450 cap room. Same thing. Yeah, I went and saw Job for Cowboy Doom EP release with Suicide Silence, The Faceless, and I Killed the Prom Queen. There, it was like, whew, it was the middle of summer. That was a hot one. Um, yeah, dude, it was
that little
great.
lineup.
I saw Portugal the Man there with RX Bandits opening up, and Foxy Shazam. Yeah, a lot of good shows there.
Not
I
crazy.
played a CD release, 2 CD releases there also with my own bands. It's yeah. Fuck. Martini Ranch was another good one. And do you ever played the Real Bar?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like all those places are gone. It's crazy.
Yeah. I was in a death metal band for a while. We played the Real Bar, I feel like a million times. Um, we played there a lot. And then yeah,
Okay.
Neckbeards. I think I only played Neckbeards once. Played Metal Devastation 2 a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's still there.
Dude, Neckbeards. That was my first show ever. Was playing at Neckbeards. I was like 12 years old. It was insane. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, it's like with the right vibe, it was a good time. But now, if I were to walk in there, I'd be like, oh, this doesn't even. This is like a PA for, I don't know, someone just operating a bingo game. Like, this is not a good PA for a band.
Yeah, I know. I remember that and just being like so mind blown that somebody put a microphone on my drum set. I was like, this is the this is the coolest moment. And you're at a soda bar and you're 12 years old, and God, that brings. I haven't heard that name, God, in probably 20 years. Neckbeards. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Um, I,
Yeah, man. All these cool places are just gone now.
I
Um,
know.
I mean, but somehow there's still the not the Big Fish Pub. What's that one? The Rock Bar, the one over on like Hayden and McKellips kind of area.
Oh, Marquee Theater. Yeah.
No, not Marquee. It's like a
Oh,
small little thing, but Pub Rock.
Oh, Pub Rock. Yeah.
That
Yep, yep, yep.
place, oh, dude, it's the worst. And somehow that's the place that stayed open. It's just it feeds back the bass every time I've seen any band there. It just sounds terrible, and somehow that's the one that stays open. So
It's always the case.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like Pub Rock, the Marquee, and then you're at an arena. Like there's not really much of anything else around here right now.
yeah, man. The venue is Scottsdale back when that was actually a place that you could play. Now it's just like a events place, but that was a very cool venue. I like that place a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I think we played with As Lay Dying there in like November of 2011, right before all the shit hit the fan.
Yeah,
And it was like the coolest because, Jordan was on like a 10-foot drum riser, and I'm like, I'm like right beneath him on my kit. I'm like, this is nuts.
right,
So
right.
I have to ask though, and maybe we'll save this for another conversation, but like, what were the bands that you were in locally because we may have played shows together at some point.
Um, I mean, the ones that I played shows with primarily were Comfort for Change, Digital Summer, this band, A Life of Science, for a bit. Um, those three primarily.
Yeah, Digital Summer, I think we may have played with once.
Digital Summer, that was a band I definitely like. They'd asked me to join, or the guitar player asked me to join once, and I kind of just said no because I really wasn't a giant fan of them musically. But then they kind of came back around a year later, and they were like looking at like this imminent touring stuff and looking at chopping deals, at least so I was told, and this and that. And I was like, this is just, I'd be kind of stupid to pass this opportunity up, even though it's not ideal. Um, and so I ended up taking it, and yeah, I learned a lot being in that band. I'll say that I learned a whole lot. It was good too. It was very good for like I was definitely pushed outside of my comfort zone in a lot of ways that I needed to be, but I also um, learned a lot about the limits of things that I was okay with dealing with, and kind of pressure testing whether or not this was like something that you'd want to do. Because playing drums is one thing, and you can really enjoy playing any instrument. And this is the same with any kind of personal passion that you have. I've found it's a whole different thing to love to do something and then to have that thing be your primary like career goal. It completely changes it. And so they're not, if you think that, you know, like if you just love painting, you can love painting all day long, but then the second that becomes your job, and especially if you have to work with other people in the painting that maybe have completely different personality types, or whatever, then it just becomes, I don't know. It's a very interesting feeling to like grow to hate the thing that you initially loved to do. Um, and so yeah, you gotta. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with all of that, but all that to say, it was. I had a lot of interesting times there, but the Digital Summer was the probably the biggest, well, definitely the biggest band I was in out there. I was like the only one that we actually toured in. Comfort for Change, we played like a couple out of state shows here and there, but nothing crazy. Um, but I don't know. I've kind of taken. I've gained great bits of wisdom from all of these different things that I've done. So it's fun.
Yeah, and you know, I think every drummer, whether on this podcast or just that I've talked to in my experience, especially anybody who does it professionally, right, has a very similar sentiment of like, God, those first, you know, whatever, however many years it is, couple of years, maybe the first decade, whatever it is, of just trying to make this a job is grueling. It is hard work. You learn so much about yourself. You're getting your ass kicked just about every day. And so long as you do the work, you stay consistent, you like push through it, that opportunity will come. And for you, I feel like that was nothing more, which we'll talk about in a minute. But,
Right.
you know, what are maybe some of the things that you could share that come to mind? It doesn't have to be Digital Summer specifically, but any experience you've had, whether it's touring or in the studio or working with other bands, where you're like, these are some things I'm going to take away and put in my pocket as like, these are things I've learned about myself that are going to make me successful.
I don't know if I would frame it like that for myself in terms of these will make me successful, but I definitely learned a lot about what my limits are in terms of what I'm like. How much do you want this thing? Well, are you willing to put up with this, and this? Well, it's like, okay, well, maybe there's like past a point. It's like, well, no, once it kind of passes a line, it's like, it doesn't really matter how much I like this thing. It becomes too much of a bad environment, which to me is very valuable information in terms of like the overall goal that anyone should want with their life is to be happy / fulfilled feeling, you know? So what's the point if I'm doing, it could be drums, it could be anything. If what I'm doing, it's technically what I'm doing, but I'm miserable while I'm doing it, or who I'm doing it with or whatever, then it's like, it's just doesn't, I might as well just be doing anything that I could, like, it's, if anything now it's like I'm doing this thing that is kind of by its nature unpredictable and can be unstable, takes you away from a lot of things and people that you care about a lot of the time, ideally. It has all these other downsides, well, things that you can be viewed as downsides, let me say. But yeah, so I can't really think of any kind of one thing. I guess if I had to say the couple things I would sum up as one thing from like a lot of different of those types of experiences would be just that kind of knowing what your own, like being honest with yourself about what your priorities and what your true, like, what are your goals from being there? What is it? Is it to be a good drummer? Is it to just be in a band? Do you want to be a band guy? Is it to travel? Do you just like to travel? Do you just not really know? This is just a thing that you do and you don't really know what else to do? And really being honest with yourself about why you're there doing it in the first place. I feel like a lot of that stuff will kind of pressure test that, and it will reveal an answer, and you got to just be very honest with yourself about what that answer actually is for you. And to me, I do really enjoy everything about it. I every time I play, it's like, regardless of, I can be in like a terrible mindset, and if I go to play, I can just feel like crap. But give me like 10, 15, 20 minutes after so long, I'll just start kind of noodling around, and then it's like I just want to play for like the next 4 hours. And I just kind of get lost in that sort of thing. And that just, I've been playing for like 25 plus years now, and that still just happens. So that's what I primarily like to do. And I try to keep everything, whenever I kind of get lost in something else, I try to get back to that sort of focus. And keeping that as just like, this is the prime reason here, and yeah, so I guess not. I don't really know how to sum that up in just a one sort of thing, but like realizing what that might be for yourself, getting like the primary motivation defined for you, and whatever kind of pressure test that may be, and finding a way to keep that in line. And there's also people that have done that. Like, that's kind of how the Nothing More position opened up for me in the first place. Was the last guy that they had, was drumming, touring with them, all this stuff, and then just with him in particular, just kind of hit home that like that lifestyle just wasn't for him once he was doing it, and he had to do what he had to do and step away. And he's in a seemingly much better, happier place, and he'd be far from the first person that's happened to, in terms of just realizing that, like, I like playing drums, I don't like all this other stuff that comes with the touring band stuff. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer, but I guess that's my answer for that.
No, it is a good answer, and it reminds me of two other interviews we had, and I think you'll identify with this. So, first interview in the series was Mr. Anthony Gazelle, awesome dude, good friend, and he said two things that you made me think of. One, he said, drums are supposed to be fun, so like don't forget that. Like, it's easy to let everything else get in the way, but like getting back to that center of like, drums are fun, it's something I love, it's something I'm passionate about, regardless of where it takes me, like this is my center, enjoying the instrument. And then the other thing he said is sometimes it's important to put yourself first. So I think between those two things, it really kind of nicely matches what you're talking about, where it's like, yes, I want to play drums. Yes, I want to do it professionally. Yes, I want to have these experiences, but I have to do it within a realm of putting myself first, as far as where am I going to be the most successful? Where can I offer the most, of myself to something, without, again, taking so much away from who I am and what I'm trying to achieve. And then you'll really like this. Brendan Buckley, he's also into jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah, I follow him.
Yeah, one of the things he said you'll love is, he goes, a black belt is just a white belt who didn't quit.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, and so like it makes me think about all of those things, where it's like, if you can learn about yourself, go through the uncomfortable places, but push and not give up, especially if it's the right thing for you. To your point, being in a touring band and going off on the road is not right for everyone, and that's okay. Sometimes being in the studio is the right thing, or that's why there are session drummers all over the world, or sometimes there's just the influencers who are just on the internet doing drums because they don't want to do anything, and that's okay. Once you find your thing, do your thing. Right. But I like that advice of, sometimes in and of itself, the best thing you can do is just be honest with yourself and say, what is it you're trying to achieve? And I think that can help steer you in the right direction.
What keeps you on task also? Like, I know for myself, I can get very easily distracted with stuff. And honestly, with a lot of like, I mean, just before this, I was on the phone for, like 30, 40 minutes with our manager just going over like merch ideas. Like a whole lot of the time that I spend on quote unquote nothing more stuff pretty much has nothing to do with just playing drums. It's always some other shit. And I don't mind doing that in some degrees. I'm glad I do those things because um, especially if it's an area that I feel like I can contribute something well, then I would rather do that than someone else who maybe doesn't, or who might not, they're not as close to it, so they don't see this. You know what I mean? Like it's certain things. It's better to have in your control if you have like a good idea for it and a vision for it. And that's all good and fine, but I do a lot of times. I will then ask myself, like, this is actually like not really. None of this has anything to do with anything I actually care about. It's just this is all like, yeah, I don't mind doing these things because it lets me kind of essentially do the main one thing. So I do try to every so often just reprioritize that in my own mind and make sure I, don't let that plant totally run out of water, so to speak.
I know exactly what you mean. Like with this YouTube brand, it's the only way I can really call it, Arizona Drummer. The purpose of it originally was share my passion of the drums with everyone. That was the original. I just want to play drums, record it, put it on the internet. And as I've kind of grown and stepped into podcasting and factory tours and all the other crap that I do, which I love it. I'm having a blast. But it's different than playing drums. It's like all of that stuff is fun, and then I come back here and I sit on my computer and edit everything and put all the music and line it all up. And at first I hated that shit. Like I was like, God, this sucks. It takes forever.
It certainly does.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is, but this is all for the greater good. All that stuff. I've learned to love it, to your point, but I can get distracted by it. I can go, well, I'm going to spend however much time on this one thing, where it's like, dude, I got a whole backlog of other shit I got to do that ties into, just getting back here. Sometimes I'll go 2 weeks without playing drums because I'm editing freaking videos and doing other crap, and it's like, well, hold on. The whole purpose was to play drums. Like, that was the whole reason.
So I have a very mixed relationship with any kind of like content type stuff for that exact reason. Like, I hate the idea of just like spending all your time just trying to edit content stuff. So that's why it's like I spent, like when I moved into this place here, or any other place, I'll spend an initial period of time, just because I've like recorded stuff for sessions as well, just like on this kit back here with salt, just like making sure everything's in phase, like very just good sound and get a good template built in Pro Tools. And same thing with any kind of video lighting stuff, just kind of like play around with some different lighting stuff one time. And once it's set, and so anytime it's like, okay, if I've been practicing something, I really like this thing, I want to record this. It's a pretty easy process. I just set the camera up, hit record, lights on, cool. I throw it into my template session. Within, I don't know, 10 minutes in Pro Tools, just like some quick adjusting some stuff, set the threshold on the gates for the toms, this and that, maybe play with the mix a little bit based off the track. It's like, okay, this is just done. Video, color setting over, print, done. And the whole thing maybe takes an extra like 25 minutes. But that's for the exact point. It's like I want to make this as streamlined as possible so that it's just an afterthought and it's not the main thought. I want to be able to focus on whatever it is I'm practicing primarily, and then just kind of capture it when I choose to want to capture it. Because otherwise it's like the tail wagging the dog feeling.
Exactly, and that's the same thing I did. You can see behind me, I got my lights, the mics. Like this kit behind me never leaves this room for that reason. It's always set up. Lights are always set up. It's always mic'd exactly the same way. Lights are always on. Everything's good to go. I have my template, hit record, and you're good to go.
Do you use those auto mute blankets you got up there?
No, they're the vocal booth to go. This is...
Okay, so that's what I got on some of my walls. I have the auto mutes behind the kit over there, but then on these walls, I've got that vocal booth to go stuff.
Yeah, it's the best. It's all around. And then I've got... This is so janky. I'll have to show you later. But I've got like... Because in the room, it's 16-inch studs, and I didn't want to drill a whole bunch of holes in my walls, so I just put like long 2x4s.
That's
Up
exactly
on the
what I
top.
did.
Yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. The problem is I didn't cover them very well, so I'm not going to show you now, but you can literally see them in the video. So I have to like angle the cameras so you can't see the 2x4s.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that trick as well on this one. You can see all the screws and stuff, but I tried to like, I don't know, I got like little tapestries, so you can't really see them, but I got some over here and over here. There's that one obviously there, but I got other ones just to kind of give it a little, vibe. So
That was what I was going for with the lights. Just a little something extra.
But
yeah,
Speaking of, I mean, we've talked a lot, but we haven't even scratched the surface on Nothing More yet. So I feel like we've got to steer over there. You mentioned
sure.
the last drummer of the band, obviously found out for himself, this is not for me, as far as the touring life. And
Right.
how did that go? So you mentioned, a friend maybe recognized you or recommended you, but how did you kind of get that process started of joining the band and becoming part of the team?
Well, I got it through a good buddy of mine, Elias Mallon. He's thrown a couple other opportunities my way in the past that I would try and wouldn't work out. At least so I was told. Usually it's because I was too young looking, because this was back in like my early 20s. I'm 36 now. So yeah, he hit me up again. Yeah, it's like about 10 years ago now. About this, he wouldn't tell me what the gig was. He was like, I can't tell you who it is, but I think it's right up your alley. They're touring a lot and they're in a bus. I think you'll love it. It's like, sure. And he got me in touch with Nothing More's manager. And the timing of it, honestly, was all very like I'm not like a religious or spiritual person necessarily, but I I am I guess a bit of a karmic kind of person, and certain things do when they like it was one of the most like the timing of this just literally could not have been better. Um, and had it happened at any other time, I would have physically not been able to do it. Um, I For a little bit of context, like rewind a year from that, I was working at a studio out in LA. I kind of left everything in Phoenix to go just pursue bigger, better everything in LA. I got into a band out there. I was working this studio, which was an amazing studio, and I went to school for audio engineering, so I was like, okay, well, this is like a good path, and we'll see where this goes, yada yada yada. And a really good old buddy of mine hit me up about this band he was playing in, and I was very skeptical about going back into the rock scene because my experience with some of the bands that I was in Phoenix, you could say, left a super bad taste in my mouth in terms of like wanting to just ever do any of that again. So I was very skeptical. I was like, I don't know, man. And financially, it worked out to where I was going to get taken care of basically for a year straight. So I was like, okay, well, that definitely helps. But still, like, I don't know, man, with this kind of music, like they were a little more progressive and this is that. Like, this just doesn't, no one cares about this. Like, it just kind of goes nowhere. And he's like, no, dude, things are kind of changing. Check it out. And he played for me what the number one radio song was at that time. And it was This Is the Time. And I remember hearing it and being like, no, this isn't number one. But songs like this don't go number one at rock radio. Well, what? He's like, yeah, dude. And I was like, this is actually like very. I was truly surprised, but also just like encouraged, like, oh my God, like that's actually awesome that something like this could do well now. So, okay, sure. Yeah, let's see how it goes. And went and did that. And long story short, with that singer ended up departing, a couple months prior to my year being up, so to speak, because I was like, again, like paid for a year. And eventually we had just got this new singer, but she had no experience singing or anything like that. And there's a bunch of other stuff that she had to work on. So it was like a month prior to that happening. I just had gone into the studio with them. We finished recording and I flew back home. And literally it was like 2 weeks after that was when, like, after my year was up with them. And that's when I got a call from my buddy Elias about this thing. So again, it's like, before I took that band, I was in no touring shape. Like I had to get my chops back under me. I had to get my playing like regularly back under me because I was playing but not super regularly. Joining that band definitely helped, and they kind of sort of helped push me into joining that band previously to begin with. Two, I was touring with that band for a lot during that year, and I was just gone. Um, and then three, I had no place to actually practice. I was like flying back and forth all the time. I had no place at all. But from having been in that band, I ended up in this relationship, which that's a whole different story. But I had a, I was kind of living with her at the time, and I came back home, and they were in a band, and they left. So all of a sudden, I had myself, a whole house to myself, and drums there with me. That it's like, oh my god, I could actually just do the audition stuff. Like otherwise, like any other point in my life for like the years prior to that, I would have no ability to like do any of those things really. So like again, like the timing that came around, it was literally like I got back home from recording, and it was like 2 days later after that I got a call about this, and I was like, this is quite literally perfect timing. Um, and did this, learn 3 songs, send it into them. I guess they had a bunch of other people do the same thing. About 2 weeks later, they hit me back up, or at some point, like a week or two later, just like, hey, yeah, you're the guy. I hadn't met any of the guys. I kind of was on the phone with them for a bit, but didn't really glean too much from that. Eventually, flew out to San Antonio, rehearsed with them for it's like 4 or 5 days total, and then yeah, did a U.S. headline, arena support for Shinedown, Breaking Ben, and then a Europe headline for like the last 6 months of the year. And then after that, I was invited by them to go to Texas, and I moved out to San Antonio for 2 years and worked on the Stories We Tell Ourselves album with them. And yeah, just kind of hit the ground running from there. But yeah, man, that the whole way in which that all worked out, even still, it's like, man, that could have just very easily had not happened had the timing just not been so perfect for me to just be able to like, yeah, I can actually like, I have nothing to do but focus on learning these songs now. But again, like if it was the month prior to that, I was recording in North Carolina for a month, so couldn't have done anything. You know what I mean? And things like just weird little coincidences like that. So I'm like, this is interesting. So
Isn't that awesome? Like, I'm a big believer in like manifestation. Again, I'm not really spiritual or religious, but I am a big believer in like, if you ask the universe for something, it will provide it to you. It's not always going to be obvious. It's not always going to be the way you thought it was going to be, but like something will happen, right? And so like to me, that's awesome. Like the fact that they were like, all the planets aligned in a way, and a lot of the times it's not that clean and cut. You know, I'm sure you've experienced it where it's like, this could not have come at the worst time. Yeah. And so like the fact that you had a kit, you had access, like to me, it's like that is the universe saying, hey, this is the right thing for you. Like you've been working your ass off, here you go. Like get after it. And now 10 years in, you know, you're still with the band, you're writing the best music you guys have ever written. I feel like the band is the biggest it's ever been right now. You know, I mean, it's everywhere. I feel like I can't look at my Instagram or my Spotify without getting a Nothing More something popping up saying, hey, check this out.
well, that's good. It's good to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's debatable. Like it's everything. I mean, there's certain bands where that's obviously the case, but I feel like probably a whole lot of bands probably feel the same as us. Where like it's kind of tough to tell where things are at post COVID because that just kind of threw such a wrench into everything. But yeah, I think things are feeling good. So
Yeah, and I'll tell you again, you know, I got my first introduction to you was you playing live at Phoenix Arena. So that's the first time I'd known your name. I shouldn't say that. So Chris Denogian over at Audix.
oh yeah,
He's so I'm an artist with theirs. He's a good friend of mine. When I mentioned I was going to the concert, he's like, make sure to say hi to Ben. So that's kind of how I first got your. We didn't get a chance to chat, but then I saw you play, and I was like, dude, this guy fucking rips.
Oh,
like you
thanks,
were
man.
just crushing it. But that does kind of make me think. So Audix, you're talking about how you've got a kind of a musical engineer background of like, you know, obviously studio engineering, recording, tracking. How does that influence your choice when it comes to gear? Whether it's live in the studio, because I know you're a DW artist, and I think you're a Sabian artist too, if I'm not mistaken.
I am. I actually got to inherit that when I joined the band because I Actually, I played Zildjians up until that point just because it was just what I had. Um, but yeah, man, I can't say enough good things about Sabian. Like Chris Stanky is just he's taken such good care of me and us, and seemingly like to me, it's like I don't know. I felt like I didn't really earn that one, whereas like other ones, it's like yeah, I reached out for it, I was able to achieve that, but he was just kind of like, oh, this is your guy, yeah, sure, and he was like man, he like showed up at a show we played in LA carrying a backpack full of cymbals, and he just went here. I was like, dude, this is give me a hug, dude. Like it's just there's such a um he just cares a lot, man, and he's just a very passionate music. Like it's like they're the best. So yeah, big Sabian fan.
Hey, I mean, I don't know if it'll show up on the camera. It won't, but full set of Sabians. I've been playing Sabian since 1998, so
Nice.
That's my dream. In fact, I just was hanging out with Chris at the Music City Drum Show in Nashville.
Oh, nice. Man, yeah, that's I was gone when that was happening. I was upset. I wanted to go to that because I actually met up with Chris, and a guy he was with like just before that happened too. I remember they're setting up a booth there. But yeah, we had to go play some shows or something. But the HH6 complex line is like, oh, I just love them so much. And the Ozones can't really get enough of them. I do wish.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like weird little effect symbols. I wish they had a couple more of those, but I also know that if I got them, all the other guys would be like, "Don't do that." It says, just stick to the main stuff, please and thanks.
Yeah, trust me, I got an ozone, no, an arrow splash, a holy china, and a regular splash for the studio.
Yeah.
But when I play live, I just have one splash because for that reason.
I've been wanting to get something kind of like that small, that little holy china that you got there. It's like, I want to get a couple other little accessories. I got a stacker and a splash, and I had a chopper for a bit, which those things are super loud. But I don't know. I just wanted something with a little more like bite and grit to it. Whereas splash is kind of, if it's not separately mic'd up, it just gets lost in the translation of things. But that's a different story. I will say though, I don't know if you ever talk with Garrison over at DW. He has what I would say is like the world record for response time. It's incredible. Like he'll respond within like 5 minutes. It's pretty great.
Yeah, so I've talked to him online, dozens of times, but I got to finally meet him at Music City Drum Show, and that was awesome because I'm a short guy, so everybody's tall to me, but like he's just this big dude who's super happy. He's like having the best time of his life. Like it was so much fun being able to just spend time with all those dudes, and yeah, it was great. But I have to ask, so like obviously similar tastes. We have DW and Sabian. How do you choose? And it could just be what feels and sounds best to you. But with that musical engineering background, how do you kind of think about the drums you're choosing, the cymbals you're choosing, maybe the heads you're choosing, whether for live or in the studio? Like, how do you kind of go about that thought process?
I mean, usually just from experience at this point, because I've tracked enough, especially with Nothing More stuff, of kind of just knowing where Johnny's vocals sit in that kind of range, and also just the aesthetic that the band has and kind of wants. Like, we're all, myself included, kind of a big fan of typically the last album was not that way so much, but most of the time, like, kind of big Gougier drums with like a little bit darker cymbals. Not to say that they aren't bright, but just like not just so shimmering bright, which is like a typical thing that you hear from a lot of bands now, especially a lot of the bands that just use obvious program drum, shitty sample sounding stuff. It's just all, super tubby drums and just cymbals. So with us, it's a lot more of things that can still have a lot of energy and like kind of can fill up the mix, because the cymbals in particular, it's just that's I always looked at that as like the energy filler, or just like it creates like the ether of the song. And how much of that do you want to fill, and how, and what kind of subdivisions are this and that, and so, but not filling it in a way that's just going to be like too bright and abrasive, because myself, and especially I know our singer's very sensitive too. A, it can just fight with the vocals, and B, it's just always like you don't want something that's just like you're just noticing this like every time something's happening. There are moments where that can be cool, but by and large, that's just not been the case with us. So I kind of just know going into it, like, that's just the aesthetic that we have and that we want. So, like, all the HHX anything's basically work perfectly for that. The complex in particular are great. I've had some of the AAX explosions. They can work well, but it depends. Certain crashes are just made different than others, where some will have just like a little bit too much of that brightness, and then I'm always just kind of told like, do you have something else? We have to kind of EQ that out. It'll sound good, but just in the overall mix of things, it fights with our sound a little more. With heads and everything else, that's a lot more straightforward. It's just I personally really like coated heads. Obviously, like for anything rock, it's all going to be double ply batter heads, single ply reso heads. But for what Nothing More is, and especially live, we just clear heads is the. It's just going to punch through. You know, it ultimately is. It might vary a bit song to song, but we're a rock band. We want big, punchy rock drums, more or less. And if it's a ballad, maybe it's a little more this way. And if it's a super active song, it's going to sound a little more that way. But it's all going to, you just want big, exciting rock drum sounds. And you're going to get that out of clear heads much more than coated. So that kind of just keeps that nice and easy.
And are you a Remo guy, Evans guy?
Aquarian.
Aquarian?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. I think you might be the first Aquarian player on Behind the Kit. So what led you, have you played Aquarian forever? Or did you kind of like find a pathway there?
I got hooked up through them. I can't even remember how at this point. I think it might have been through my buddy Beto, I believe, who also hooked me up with Chris from Audix. But yeah, it was a long time ago. But yeah, I think it was Beto. Beto's the man. But yeah, the same thing. Like they were like immediately just very responsive and helppful. Anytime I'm on tour, I've just needed anything. It's like that day, here's response time. Here, we'll get this stuff out to you, which is fantastic. I was always very familiar with their kick heads because I've always played super kicks. Same with the snares. I'd kind of dabbled back and forth between like the HD dry and the high velocity snares. I was a little bit less familiar with some of their toms. I'd kind of always gone back and forth between like the G2s or the Emperors, or occasionally like there was the Aquarian rings. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but I remember trying those out and it was like a little bit too muted sounding. But then I did try the Performance 2s, and the Performance 2 Aquarian heads were like fucking spot on. I have the coded on right now, but like on my live kit, I'm pretty sure that's what I have. It's the Performance 2 clears on all the toms, and they sound amazing.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I got all coated heads on the studio kit, and then live, it's all clear. Just, again, the punch, the attack. I mean, it depends on the music, too, right?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I play mostly metal and rock, but I played with, like, this kind of post-modern rock, kind of bluesy. They had some jazzy songs, so that kit was all coated, and it was so much fun. But, you know, because that's my preference. I like the warmth. I like the way the coated head feels under my sticks.
Exactly. Well, I like being able to... Yeah, we were just touring for like a long time. I've been debating too going to like Nelson's Drum Shop or someplace here in Nashville and being a little irresponsible and buying like a small little like really old Ludwig cocktail kit or something like that. But for the same reason as kind of what I'm getting to here, like something that kind of feels different and sounds different might elicit a different response in terms of what I'm playing if I'm just working on something, and I like that. I want to have something that's just like, okay, yeah, I want some different influences, different vibe, different feel. Now that I'm home and I can kind of actually get into stuff that's not just playing, you know, Go to War or Jenny for the 1000th time. As fun as that can be, it's like I kind of want to do anything but that is for as long as I can now that I have the time to do that, because otherwise you're not really growing as a person or as a drummer or anything, you know, you're just repping songs that I could probably go like years without playing those and still sit down and play it from the muscle memory at that point. You know what I mean? So it's good to, when possible, immediately jump into the uncomfortable, unknown land with your playing. But I'm getting into a whole different point there.
But I agree with you, man. Like that's where the cover stuff is fun for me. Like, you know, I didn't come into YouTube wanting to do covers. It wasn't like, ooh, I'm going to be a cover guy. It was like, ooh, this is just a fun way to show my expression. So, like, I never play the songs exact. I always throw my little shit in there and have fun with it because, to your point, like, I can go from funk to hip-hop to rap to metal to country to, I can do all the different genres, and it constantly forces me to do something different.
Right.
And it's so much fun. But I am curious, you know, obviously you mentioned before kind of getting rock and metal. It was a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth, so there was a little bit of hesitancy coming back to it. But do you pull influence from other styles of music, so like jazz, funk, hip-hop, any of that kind of stuff? Or maybe even just drummers that are in that those
100%.
other genres?
I mean, not necessarily like one for one on some of that stuff, but like there's the song Dream With Me that has like a lot more like jazzy-ish type stuff, or even like Go to War in the verses. It's very subtle in the recording, and then live it's much more so like just immediate like dynamic is switching to just like it feels much more of like a like trying to just sound like a percussion section, or very like classic like symphonic type approach, as opposed to just like here's what a drum set player would play. Kind of trying to view it more from that sort of place, like you're writing like a cinematic drums versus, you know, what's something that I can twirl my sticks to and all that horseshit. So I don't like it really depends. A lot of times I feel like it's always just on like little moments where to me like a fill will come up and I'm just like I'll kind of naturally play something that will remind me of something else, and then sometimes I'll be like, you know what? Actually, yeah, I'll kind of like lean into that because it's kind of in my own way. It's like a fun little nod to this thing, and some people might be able to pick up on it, but probably most people will never get the reference that I'm kind of like throwing out to or whatever. But to me, it's like it's just a fun little Easter egg. So I got a lot of those buried. And the first album I did with them, The Stories We Tell Ourselves, I did that a lot, but with drum parts and ideas that were on the self-titled and Few Not Fleeting album, because I was a lot more of like, okay, I want to approach this first album as like, I'm still going to tie in a lot of, like, there's certain commonalities a lot of drummers will have, like their signature go-tos, so to speak, right? And I wanted to kind of prove to myself, but also to the other guys and to fans of the band, like when they hear it, it's not going to sound like some totally different thing. It's going to feel like a continuation of stuff, you know? And so that was kind of my goal, is to have it sort of seamlessly feel like the same band, but maybe now there's like a couple added little twists here and there that would be my own stuff. And I could break down what some of the signature things are, but that's, again, a different thing. And then with every album since then, I've been trying more so to depart further and further from that. Intentionally, well, not super like intentionally so, but just kind of, rather than feeling like things have to go through that lens, just ignoring that and being like, well, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe actually it would be good to just, what's just like a from scratch cool concept or cool thing that can be done here that isn't necessarily just trying to be weird for the sake of being weird, but just like I don't know, maybe there's a way of executing this with this concept that feels the same as like a typical go-to, but it's just, I don't know, it's got some more character to it than just like super cut and dry meat and potato drums or something, you know. It's kind of my general concept always. Just meat and potatoes always feels good, but there's a couple different ways that you can do that from a listening experience where it's indistinguishable, but from a technical standpoint and like aesthetic, it makes it a little more artistically interesting.
Yeah, it's a fine balance. Excuse me, sorry, I got something in my throat. But to your point, it's that fine balance between the meat and potatoes, you know, playing the song right down the middle, playing the core beat or whatever the case is, and then where and when to add in the extra sauce and kind of, you know, sprinkle the seasoning and give them a little bit of something. So I'm curious, how does the band today like approach songwriting? Do you guys get into a room and jam on ideas? Do you send stuff to each other? Like, what's the kind of general workflow that you guys go through to create songs?
The first two albums I worked on with them, it was the guitar player, bass player, and I just in a room for like 2 or 3 months, just generating tons of ideas. And then our singer would generate a bunch of his own ideas, and we eventually kind of like merge. He works on some of ours, we work on some of his. Sometimes we merge two of ours together, and we just discard the rest, essentially. This last album, we did none of that. It was all in the box, and for better or worse, because you can kind of, especially the Spirits album, you can kind of look at that, and it feels much more of like a jammy album, which is very cool in a lot of ways, but it also gets kind of lost on itself in a lot of ways. Whereas with the Carnal album, it was all in the box, which means no jam rooming. It's all just like part sharing, this, and that. And everything, to me, at least, everything kind of feels much cleaner and much more like a clear thought and to the point. But you also get a lot more formulaic, a lot less. Everything kind of just feels blockier and just like part to part to part to part. The end, and extremely clean. There's not a lot of like cool musical moments of just like, oh yeah, how they did this transition from that to that. It's just really neat and interesting. There's like none of that. But it's all just solid songwriting, this and that. And we've had like a lot of radio success with it, but to me, you kind of lose a lot of you lose a lot of artistic depth when you just only do things in the box like that. Like, it's not so much that you're intentionally trying to do that. It's just the nature of the process. It's, to anyone, people who maybe aren't musicians, but let's say you're like a weightlifter, right? It's the same as you will get different results if you use machines as you would free weights. You're still going to get some results, but you're going to get different results, and you're going to feel different, and what you're going to be able to do with that is going to be a lot different. I mean, it's not quite the same as that, but it's sort of similar, I guess. So it's what we're trying to do going into this next one is to kind of split those worlds much better, and to kind of like conceptually kind of coming up with a lot of buds of ideas, which we're maybe like halfway through that now, all in the box stuff. Then take it into a room, kind of like really try to flush out the ideas and seeing what kind of musical things arise out of that, and then take that back into the box to like fine tune it, because it's much easier to edit and refine things and tones and parts and yada 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 in the box for sure. But you lose that ability to like on the fly come up with just an idea that you can execute like that, because trying to like, okay, yeah, I have this idea for a thing. Well, by the time you find that you program in the drums or the thing to be able to do it, and it has this tempo switch, like it becomes a big pain in the ass, and so you end up just disregarding it, or you don't do it really well, so then you disregard it, because the way to do it well would just be to do it as a person, and then you kind of hear it and you're like, yeah, just like that, and then you kind of figure out how to record it later. You know what I mean? A lot of those moments and a lot of those things. So that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's another fine line between creativity and efficiency, right? It's like, we gotta, excuse me, you're gonna get to the end result the same way, right? I'm gonna write a great song, regardless of which method we use, we're gonna land at a great song. But to your point, it's like the efficiency of doing it that way can impact the creativity of what you can put into the song, and vice versa, though. If you get a little too creative, like you said earlier, weird for the sake of weird, you can impact the efficiency of actually writing the song and getting it done and putting it out there. So it's a fine balance between the two.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to become Guitar Center of just aimless jamming. So yeah, it's very easy to like, it's maybe arguably easier to write a quote unquote better song in the box than it would be jamming. But again, it's about the balance of it to me, of just like, there's something when you hear, when done correctly, and you hear just like a good flowing song that I don't know, it just resonates with you as a person. That happens to me, and to the other guys too, so much more with, I don't know, just things that feel organically interesting and captivating. And that's just it's not that you can't do that in a box, or like recording in the box, which, like, to people that don't know, it means just all on a computer. It's just very, especially if you're working with other people, it's very hard to do, because what ends up happening is someone else starts breathing down your neck and you just kind of want to move on for the sake of moving on. If you're doing it by yourself, then sure, you can take all the time in the world, but that's usually not the case.
Yeah, and to your point, like when you're recording that way, a lot of the times it just becomes a matter of checking the box of like, okay, here's the riff, now I got to put the beat on top of it, here's the bass on top of that. Like it's a pattern almost, or a puzzle you're putting together. It's about accomplishing, not necessarily about creating on top of.
Yeah, and you can't really focus on any. You can only really focus on one thing at a time, and especially if it's something that you're kind of like, you're just trying to get this thing down so you can get to the next thing, so you can get to the next. Like, so say you're trying to really work on the vocals, so you're kind of just going to blow through whatever bass and guitar thing just to get to the vocals, which is great, but then you kind of end up with a lot of these parts that's like really you may like, maybe not. It really depends on what the overall goal is there, but any chance to kind of like go through those parts and do something neat or interesting is now just bypassed, because you're focusing on this other thing, and that might be the desired result, and that might be the best version of that result. But it's, at least when you're like in a jam or something like that, ideally speaking, as long as everyone's on the same page of, not trying to be their own look at me star with stuff, and just actual good songwriting, you actually have each person just working on those own things, and then you hit record, and then you get all of that collectively jotted down, and then you can collectively fine tune that stuff later, and keep the saucy stuff that you want, discard it, and kind of keep the meat and potatoes where you want that, and yada yada yada. But you just lose all of that in terms of just like efficiency, which again isn't necessarily the bad move. It's just that is the move, and that's kind of the cost of that move.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. It's just a matter of where can you find the balance. I like the plan you guys have going into the next one. I think that's a really cool way to like, here's the meat and potatoes, let's go find out what we can do, and then we refine, and that's the final version. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, we did that probably the most with the Stories We Tell Ourselves album, where we would take a lot of those ideas, take it into a DAW, play with it a bit, and then before we actually like did start tracking for it for real, we kind of jam roomed all of it and just sort of see how it felt. And even tracking in the studio when we're like really run through the songs to be like, yeah, this is like what we want to do here. And like a really cool example of that came out of that, there's a song Fade and Fade Out that has like this whole outro section, and all of that was just like alive in the studio when we were tracking drums and stuff for it. We like wrote that whole bit just there based off of just how does it feel and what do we want it to do and all this stuff. And I mean, that song, not for that reason, but that song is one of our fan favorite kind of songs. But it's just chock full of moments like that where it's like, that would have never happened if it was all in the box. Something like that would have been written out immediately, or it would have become some other condensed, really short, or like, I don't know, something that just doesn't feel as good. Parts like that you need to feel it out to see how it flows and how it I don't know. It usually just reveals itself in terms of like, how long should this go? When do you want to move on? When do you not want to move on? And you can't really tell that when you're just all coming from here and not from here. So yeah, like that's things like that you get from that sort of process,
Absolutely. So I want to be mindful of your time. I know we're a few minutes over.
That's all good.
I have like 7. I call them rapid fire questions, but looking at them, they may require a little bit more substance, but
I will try to be terse.
No, you're good. I'm just more saying, hey, say whatever you want to say. They don't have to be rapid fire. But I'm going to go through them. And then at the very end, we'll just open it up to whatever you got going on right now that you want to make sure people stay in tune for. But the first one, what has been the most memorable live show or tour moment in your career so far?
That Phoenix show with Disturbed was very cool for the reasons I previously mentioned. It was kind of just like a bit of a full circle thing. Going to Osaka in Japan was still, aside from, like, I could be a little biased just because it was outside of the show, just being there was incredible. But it was also the first, like when I first joined Nothing More, it was, 2 tours, a Europe tour, and then after that we finished it with these 2 shows in Japan. And it was just such a cool way to like not only end that cycle, but just like that whole experience. And I had no clue it was on the horizon after that, and just like moving to San Antonio, none of that had come up just yet. It was just like a man, I can't like what just happened kind of thing, and all like it was very cool. Probably that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can imagine like you finish up those tours, you're like, what is my life? And like where's it going now? Like I can just imagine the excitement that you were probably feeling in those moments of like this is it. Like I'm doing it.
Yeah, actually, not to sound, I don't mean for this to come off maybe negatively, but it was one of those like I could at least say I've been able to do these things. I got to do a bus tour, I got to do an arena tour, I got to do a Europe tour. Those are like major boxes that I had always wanted to check off, and I was able to check them off pretty much like back to back. So to me, it was more of like, no matter what happens after this, I can at least say I've done these things, or I was able to do these things. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I did Europe twice last year, and it was the same thing. I came back home like, regardless of what happens next, I'm like, my drums just took me across this to another country. You know, like what an awesome.
Oh yeah,
awesome experience.
I'll have that feeling a whole lot, especially these days. Like I just bought my first house here in Nashville, and things like that. As I'm like setting up something else, I'm just like I'll come back here and like kind of look at the kit and be like, that made all this happen. Damn, that's pretty awesome.
I know exactly what you mean. And now it's, well, I'm going to go down a sad tangent. Maybe we'll get there at the end. But I've had that feeling too, where you look at it and you're like, this has become my life. And look at everything it's given me. It's just, it's incredible. But speaking of, you know, the drums being, I think, both a physical and mental it requires a lot of physical and mental preparedness to be able to do this thing effectively. What are some of the things that you do to physically, mentally prepare before you actually get on stage and play these honestly extremely high energy shows? And I say that because again, I got to see you and the energy is infectious.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I'm going to sound real dull here. For shows, I try to do like nothing. When I'm practicing home, I'll drink so much coffee because I want to play for like a long time. Like I want to almost have like a outer body religious experience from the amount of caffeine I have. It's probably not healthy. For shows, it's like the opposite. I used to try to do that where I would, especially like back when I drank. I quit drinking about 3 years back, and before that, I would try to like, oh yeah, I'd have like the science of it. I'd have like half a beer, so that way I'm a little bit loose, and it's just like, yeah, it's fine. It would be fine. But I would try to get into like this hyped up, energetic mindset, and I've found for myself that actually, I immediately come out of the gate like fighting myself, because then I end up having to be like, I need to calm down is really what I need to do, and because I'm thinking too much about just whatever, and then it's adrenaline starts going, your breathing starts going, you kind of forget to breathe. And yet too, it shows you don't want to sit there and be doing math in your head, being super technical and trying to technically be super ergonomically precise. Like no one's trying to see that. But my goal, especially as we're playing some of these bigger venues, I just am trying to not think about myself as like people are paying attention to me. I'm assuming they're not. I'm assuming people are paying attention to the show and to the guys in the front. I'm in the back for a reason. I am seen by some and I'm heard by all. The drums are super loud in our mix, so I need to make sure first and foremost that I'm sounding good for the show. Being dynamically super consistent, like feeling good, and then I'll take a nap before we play. I'll try to just like focus on my breathing. I try to stop listening to like any of our songs or thinking about any of our parts. Like if I like maybe messed up a certain spot in a song, I'll mess with it earlier in the day, and then leading up to the show, I'm just doing anything but thinking about the songs. I have to try to get back into the mindset of fully trusting that I know these songs, not second guessing yourself. That can be a big old problem. And just kind of trying to let my brain go into like an autonomous place of trusting that I've put in the reps and the work when I've practiced, that I don't need to worry about this. I should be able to be comfortable here, and just feeling calm and relaxed. One of the biggest things I will consistently do is to put a cap on this. Aside from just like kind of focusing on my breathing and almost like meditating, I'll listen to the first couple songs off of Legend by Bob Marley, just to like, it's just the Three Little Birds, especially just hearing every little thing. It's gonna be all right. Like that's the mindset I want of just like it's all good. Just gonna go play like I normally play and it's gonna be fine. And then usually once I'm in a place of just like truly comfortable and it's like, whatever, if I make a mistake, it's all good. I play way better than if I'm in my head, I'm like, this is gonna be sick, gonna be this, and then something will happen and then it throws me off. So that's what I like to do.
Yes, like that calms because I used to be the same thing. I'd be doing push-ups and like jumping jacks and like, let's go, and you're trying to pump everybody up. Then you go up there and you miss a hit and you're like,
well, I do stretch. I will stretch and I will do some jumping jacks. I don't want to do anything to where I feel like I'm getting muscular fatigue, but I do want to get some blood flowing.
Yeah, because it's funny. So now it's like my repertoire is take a nap, go to the bathroom because I typically have to pee because I drink in all day. Because I cramp so easily.
I have to pee at least like 15 times. Yeah.
Like I was joking with my wife. I'm like, all right, I worked on my legs today, so I have to play drums today because I will not be able to the next 2 days. Like thinking about that ahead of time, because it's just you get up there and you're like, oh my God, my legs don't work. My grip feels like it's not in the right place because you're just dehydrated or you're. My most common thing right now is I'll come in here and I'll start playing, you're sweating, you're having a good time, and I'm like, God, I'm fucking starving. And then like I have to stop and go eat something because you're just burning through everything. And I'm like, God. And it's like, those are not the things that I would have thought would have been my problem 10 years ago. Like not drinking enough water, not eating enough food, and not sleeping enough. Like I would have been like, dude, you're a rock star, just go do your thing. And it's like, no. My body needs all the right stuff or else I'm, especially you're playing intense music, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like if you're out there playing Four on the Floor or country rock or, something, it's like whatever, I can go out there and do my thing, but I have to like really, really make sure I'm fueled, I'm warmed up and can play or else I'm toast. I'm just gonna, or I'm gonna overthink it. I'm gonna be thinking about, did I have enough water? Did I eat enough? And so to your point, it's all about just getting in that place of like, nope, I know what I'm doing. I know I'm in a good spot. Let's just get up there and do our thing. And these people came to see a show.
The eating thing can be particular. Like I have to eat. I need to eat before we play, but it needs to be like 2 hours before we play, and it needs to be enough to where like I'm gonna start getting hungry right when we're done playing. So like I'll be full, but then when we're playing, I feel basically normal, and then when we're done playing, I'm starving. Because if I don't do that during the show, I start getting like just shaky and just not good feeling. Like I just feel weak and tired. Versus just feeling like I can just play forever. So same thing when I'm practicing. I'll get these little Metrex bars. I kind of keep one back there, and I'll get like, I don't think I have it sitting around here. I have like just like those giant jugs of water, and I just am drinking that all day. And
I'll have water, some type of Gatorade or Prime or something just to kind of keep me going. Then I'll have like protein bars because I'm like, okay, this is a marathon. We got to get through this, And I think about it that way because even on marathons, you stop and you eat something or you have snacks or you have your water because it's like that's how you're going to get through this 26 miles or whatever it is. All right, I have 3 more. I promise I'm not going to hold you hostage.
No, you're good. No worries.
Is there a Nothing More track that feels completely different to play live than it did when you recorded it in the studio?
Not really. Maybe Tired of Winning. Maybe when we've played that. So Tired of Winning for sure. Compared to all of the other ones, just because it's the bridge on that. We've expanded live now to where we'll do like some little drum back and forth thing between Johnny and I. But even if we don't do that, I changed the back half of it. It used to just be like just this repeating pattern for the whole bridge on the album, just because we wanted it to basically be like this thing that you get lost in. And we have Alan Watts come in and kind of as like the guide through it all. So we didn't want we just wanted that to be what you focused on. But then live, as we're playing it a couple times, I was like, man, I feel like this could be kind of a cool moment to like just let the drums go off a little bit, but still keep it like not just like aimless, bullshit shredding, but like something that kind of keeps the theme and the general hits together. But it's just like it just gets compounded and more exciting as it progresses to like this finality. And so changing up all of that for 1-2, but it is one of those where like every time we go to play it, it's just I don't know. It's the tempo of it and everything about it just feels tricky every time we play it. To me, there's just something about that song that just doesn't. I don't know. It's always a little challenging in a not fun way. I mean, it's fun when I play it well, and it's annoying at times where it's like could have tightened that up a little bit here or there, but it happens.
I know those songs all too well. There was one off. I was in this band called Zombies for a couple of years, and we had a song called "The Cycle." And anybody who's listening that knows that song is like, I get why that's the one you picked, but it's a 16th note double bass. First it's a 6-minute long song,
right?
And you're doing 16th note double bass, just like basically Slayer type stuff for like 4 minutes of the 6 minutes. Just all the verses, half the choruses, the bridge. That's just, and it's like 200 something BPM. Mm-hmm. So like that's the most fun song to play because you get to just rip the whole time. But it's also every time you're done, you're just like, holy shit! I feel like I've just been run over by a truck.
Yeah, it is one of those same thing. Like whenever tired, as soon as we're done, I'm just like, sweet. Because like there's other hard parts. Like there's arguably harder parts and harder songs to like execute. But for some reason, that tempo, it's like at 190, except for the bridge is 145. And the whole outro is 145, but like there's just something about it. It lives in this weird Goldilocks zone of being a pain in the ass, where it's like I wish it was just either a little slower or a little faster. But right where it is, it's like somehow it feels slow, but then when you play it, it's fast, and it just I don't know. It's a little trickier than the others to usually get into like just a super comfort zone place with it. No matter what, I've practiced it a bunch and all this other stuff. It's just kind of one of those like, it's just always a bit of an annoyance. But I got myself to blame for that, for writing the shit. So it happens.
All right. So what advice would you give to up and coming drummers that are trying to make it in our industry?
Like touring, like being in a touring band, or just trying to be a drummer, period?
I think both. Whichever one resonated to you first.
Well, if you're trying to go the band route, I would say do not get overcommitted to any band that you're in, period. Be very open to just if a good opportunity comes up, just take it. In the words of like I remember talking with my mom in particular about this. It's come up in my life a couple times. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to be a member of this band, or are you trying to be a drummer? Because if you're trying to be a drummer, if there's an opportunity to go drum, then go drum. Essentially. And that's very good sound advice, I would say. So, and I've seen that a lot too, where I've seen other guys who may or may not be under the spell of some kind of delusion that are just like, nah, man, like we've got, it's like the meme, we got the big things coming and this and that. And then they can't really see the forest through the trees and just sort of let their life get tunnel visioned into putting all their eggs into this one basket, which is kind of something unless you're like Lars Ulrich of that band or whatever, that's just a band that you're in, which is great, and you can do that, and you can put a lot of energy into that. But you yourself as a drummer, gosh, I feel like it's kind of hard to say because I'm definitely biased from my own experiences. But like the thing that probably helped me out the most is just getting like every opportunity that I've had came about because I was able to be like I got in front of other people's eyes and ears enough. So just getting yourself exposed to people and letting them see you play, see who you are, what kind of person you are, all of that. The more exposed that you get to people, the more that like when something comes up that you might come to mind. So play as much as you can. Try not to pigeonhole yourself into like one band, one genre, one style of playing. The more dynamic of a player that you are, the better. But also too, nowadays you got to be kind of mindful that like, what you look like matters. You got to take care of yourself. if you're putting out like video content stuff on, like you do want stuff like if I just set my cell phone up and hit record and started playing drums and it just sounded like cymbals and just like washy ass, it doesn't matter what I'm playing, people just be like, just next. Like you do want to be mindful of these things and not just be like, oh man, no, it doesn't matter what I played sick, even though it sounds like shit. People don't. It does matter. It actually does matter. And people that you gotta keep in mind, most people that you're trying to like get seen by are not going to be drummers. They don't care about those little nuances. So think about things that not drummers would care about, and that's what you maybe that's not what you need to care about, but you need to be aware of those things at a minimum. Yeah, and just do as much as possible with whoever, as much as you can.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Particularly the one that stands out to me, and I just want to share really quick anecdotally, you know, it's part of the reason I moved on from the band I was touring with is, you know, it's easy to get caught up in am I the drummer of this band, or am I a drummer who's looking to, you know, be that as my career? And it started to get to a point where those goals conflicted. And, you know, I was like, okay, got to do what's best for me, and went off on that path. And, you know, I think that that's true for anyone. You know, we look at the Josh Freese, Elon Rubin thing going on right now where they're playing musical chairs, or you look at the, you know, Jay Weinberg, Eloy, Garrett, not Garrett. Is it Garrett? Why can't I think of his name?
You're thinking of Grayson?
Grayson, thank you. I don't know why I thought Garrett, that's my dad's name. Anyway, they did their musical chairs. It's like anybody can switch at any time. Like,
right.
It's a matter of, are you going to be the right guy for the right opportunity, and are you going to be prepared for it when it comes?
Yeah. And also too, you got to just be, some people don't talk about it enough, but you got to just be a cool person to be around. I've heard of a number of very talented drummers who are kind of difficult to be around, and it will cost you gigs. So there's a line between, like, you don't want to be a great cool guy who can barely keep a pocket together. You don't want to be a guy with an amazing pocket who's a total dickhead. You know, like everything, you need some moderation, and you know, easier said than done, especially with the latter. I know for like the types of people that tend to want to sit all day and really perfect something tend to also be odd. So it happens.
I know exactly what you mean. In fact, I'm legitimately thinking about making a Arizona drummer shirt that just says "Don't be a dick," because like that is like almost like rule number one. Like if you're an exceptional drummer but you're a dick, it doesn't matter. So just don't be a dick.
Right. So yeah, just for anyone that's kind of up and coming, that's definitely just as you know, quantity is a quality all its own. I think Napoleon or Stalin or something said that, but it applies great for this. Like, you just need to do as much as you possibly can all of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a matter of getting in front of people's faces, which I don't know why this made me think of the next question, but you've been in front of a lot of people's faces, and you've had a pretty tremendous career. I mean, going all the way back to the very first show, all the way up to the most recent show with Nothing More. If you were to look back on your whole career, what is one word that comes to mind to sum up that whole time?
Fortunate.
It's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has something different that they share, and it's all kind of in the same line, though, right? Of like, I've been fortunate, I've been lucky, I'm grateful, all these different things of like, but nobody I've interviewed leaves these conversations being like, you know, cocky or like, yeah, of course I did that. Or like, none of that's here, right? Every drummer that's made it and has gone off and done the dream and is doing it is because they've worked their ass off for it. They have put themselves in the position to get those gigs, to keep those gigs, and they're grateful for all those opportunities.
Yeah, well, I mean, even like you can look at, someone like Tony Royster Jr., when he's playing with Jay-Z or Katy Perry, he didn't write those Jay-Z songs, those Katy Perry songs. He just put in the work himself to be able to get in a position to be with someone like that. So it's like, that's why lucky to me doesn't, because it does require a lot of work and effort put in to create those opportunities for yourself. And it's fortunate that you're in a place and mindset to be able to do that kind of work and to be able to focus on those things. It's very awesome. And having that work rewarded is incredible, and it is very fortunate because that is not always the case, and it's not guaranteed by any means. But yeah, like for most drummers, that's what I'm saying. Unless you're like again like the Lars Ulrich, where it's like he kind of helped build Metallica, that stuff does happen. But if you're just a drummer and you're kind of going, doing all these various things, you're kind of there's only so much credit you can really take for that sort of stuff. I feel like, genuinely speaking. Even for songs that I'm a part of with the band, it's like that's fine, but like I'm not under any delusion at all that like people don't listen to the band for the drums. They listen for mainly with like the message that the songs have and the vocals and the lyrics and all of that. Like much more so than just like, oh yeah, that fill is sweet. Like maybe 10 people care about that, myself being one of them. But that's you know what I mean? So it's like I feel like there's only so much credit you can really give yourself, but you should still give yourself that credit. Just being realistic of the amount that could really be applied.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us to the last question, which is what's next for you, for the band? What do you got coming up? Any side projects, touring plans, anything? What do you want people to get hyped about that we can kind of tag below and make sure they're following along too?
Hyped about? God, I have no idea. For myself, I've got like a side, I guess, project you could call it. It's call it Without Sleep, which is basically just my own. It's like I do all of the music and mixing and mastering, and then my good buddy Ravi he's the singer. We've done a couple songs. Him and I've got a song that we're working on that trying to finish the mix on right now. It's something a little bit different than what we've done. It's usually a lot more like very. I was always inspired by back in my earlier touring days when I'd be driving the Sprinter van, some 12-hour overnight long haul drive, and everyone's asleep and you're just driving the middle of nowhere at night or whatever, and listening to like really old like Dredge or Coldplay or just like some of that cool ambient, like a lot of fanning guitar. Just I don't know, man. I get like it became such a meditative place, and I loved where that kind of transported me to. And so a lot of the songs that I've been doing with that to me is just like trying to encapsulate that vibe. Is kind of more of what that is, and that kind of it takes me a long time to come up with that stuff, mainly because I don't always have the time or energy to want to focus on it, and I'm also primarily a drummer. I can play guitar, it takes me a bit. I'm very good with Pro Tools, so I can engineer songs well in that sort of way, but like I can't like sit in jam room by myself for example. But working on that, which is fun. Him and I are excited about this song, so we're going to put that out here pretty soon. With nothing more stuff, we have so way back when I first joined the band with the Stories We Tell Ourselves, I tracked drums for this cover song that we were supposed to put out, and then it ended up getting shelved. And every so often, every couple of years, we've come back around to it, and we're like, man, this song's great. And Johnny, our singer, every time he's like, nah, I just don't like the way the vocals are, this and that. But everything else was everything was done about this song. And recently, like a year ago, we tracked for this other cover that we were going to do. And then right when Johnny was supposed to go do vocals for it, he like was listening with the producer, and then somehow this song came up, and they listened to it. They're like, you know what, we should do this song. So all that to say, this song that I'm stoked is finally going to see the light of day is going to come out later this year, that we're pretty excited about, and we're going to get mixed here soon. Listening back to it, man, some of the drum fills and parts I put on it are so insanely like ridiculous. I'm very kind of stressed out at the idea of having to relearn these. But that's going to be, I'm really excited about that. It's a really cool cover. And it felt like it fits the band's sound and style really well. So that'll be exciting. And I think should be in like anywhere, either like end of September, October, something like that is when it might come out. We got some like live video stuff too that we're looking at putting out. Beyond that, we got a headlining Europe tour, a headlining US tour, like January through like March, something like that. It's all on the website, nothingmore.net. Check it out. But that'll be fun to kind of wrap up the album process. And in between all that, like at the end of this month, and I think one other trip this year, we're going to go to LA and keep working on new songs for the next album, so that when all that touring's done, we can kind of start. We're doing a couple Europe festivals next summer, But by and large, after that tour in January, we're just going to be focusing on the new record, and writing, recording, and be done with it so that it can be released probably spring, summer-ish of 2027, I would imagine. Uh, Something like that. So yeah, man, just keeping a move on. And in between that, yeah, just on my own personal stuff, just kind of moved to Nashville, staying healthy, trying to get into what I can get into here. Um, might be remaking. I made a hot sauce over the pandemic that we released as a band, but I was hit up recently by a friend of mine who is a big supporter of the band in a lot of ways, and we'll see how it pans out. But looking to maybe to re-release some of that, because it we had a lot of big fans of that as well. So I might be diving back into that here soon. We'll see.
Dude, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to check out the hot sauce. I'll tag that too, if people can buy it.
It's out. We haven't had it in a minute. We kind of like it just kind of went away and died. But yeah, I just had a lot of rejuvenated interest from this guy who kind of wants to team up with me and re-releasing it. So yeah, we're in talks right now. I emailed the recipe to myself way back when, and I'm gonna go make another batch to send to him, and we'll kind of start getting the groundworks framed of like, okay, well, what's this gonna look like, business wise, and where we're gonna try to sell it, yada yada yada. And but yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit of a hot sauce enthusiast, so it's pretty fun. I will say, I think I made a pretty damn good sauce, so we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a hot sauce guy, so I'm gonna have to try it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then, yeah, I'm stoked to hear the new music too. You said it was without sleep. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's my size.
Okay.
It's again, that stuff sounds nothing like Nothing More stuff. Obviously, because it's just all the music is myself largely. Ravi does all the vocals, but I mean, he will do like some piano, like he'll help with some songwriting stuff. But the nature of the bulk of what that is um yeah, just whatever kind of comes to mind of stuff that I like, and yeah, just kind of go from there.
Well, I'm gonna check it out too, and I'm gonna tag it below for other people to check it out. If it's on Spotify and all that already, there's
Yep.
some songs up there. Okay, then we'll do that. We'll make sure to check it out. And then, of course, Nothing More. I'll tag all of the stuff going on with Nothing More.
We do also have a video coming out for the song Existential Dread fairly soon. Like the video's done. I think it's just a matter of when we're going to put it out. And then I'm sure we're going to get just a mountain of people complaining about the video. So I'm looking forward to that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fine. I enjoy that stuff now. It used to be annoying. Now I'm just like, let's see what people got. And then, yeah, the cover, I don't know exactly, but yeah, I want to say like October. I could be wrong though. I really
Makes
should know
sense.
these things. I stopped looking at our schedule. I used to like always know what cities we're going to be and which day, and now I'm just like, sometime in March I'll be somewhere.
That's kind of what it is now here too. My wife's like, "Hey, we got something going on August 30th. Are you going to be here?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'll check. You know.
Yeah, I'll be somewhere.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be here.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, Ben, I've held you now almost 40 minutes over. It has been 40 minutes over, so I will be mindful of your time.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, sorry, I got some long answers on some of those. I'm sorry.
This is great. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I could talk about this stuff all day. So,
Right.
what I'll say is thank you so much for your time. We'll probably have to do a part 2. Talk more about what's going on with Without Sleep. Talk more about what's going on with Nothing More. Talk about all the fun stuff you got going on next year. But for now, I just want to say thank you for this time and talking to us about the different advice you have, what got you into drums, how you became a professional, how you got the gig, good ways to keep the gig, and just all the fun, exciting stuff that you've got coming up over the next, really, it sounds like the next year at least. So
Oh, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Appreciate you having me. And yeah, just give me a shout. We can catch up again later. It's been fun.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Ben. I'll let you know when this is going to go up, but I appreciate it.
Sounds good, man.
All right, have a good day.
Have a good one. See ya.